All right, so today we're going to talk about, it's just an intro to PDF accessibility. Um, this can be a pretty in-depth training, so we're breaking it up into two trainings. This month will be an introduction to PDF accessibility. In November, our webinar will take a deeper dive into accessibility with PDFs. At the end, there will be time for questions, and also I should be able to have time to pull up a PDF and demonstrate some of the topics that I'm going to bring up in this training today. So before I get started, my name is Sarah Schaub. I am the Web Services Manager here at Connors. We support all of Connors and Extension websites, as well as we're really helping to support the Digital Accessibility Initiative here within our college and extension. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump in to the next slide. So today's sessions, we're going to talk about um, and aim to understand the importance of accessible PDFs. We're going to learn the key standards of PDF UA and WCAG 2.1 standards, and I'll explain what those are. And then we're also going to explore some practical techniques for creating accessible PDFs. So first off, why is PDF accessibility important? Well, accessible PDFs are important because they ensure equal access for users with disabilities. They help meet WSU policies and legal requirements like ADA and the User O1 policy. Um, Accessible PDFs also improve usability for all readers, and they reflect inclusive and professional communication. So WCAG and PDF UA requirements. So WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. They're international standards that provide the requirements for making digital content accessibility. And PDF UA stands for Portable Document Format, or PDF, Universal Accessibility. That's what the UA stands for. And the PDF UA is a set of standards that focus on how to enable PDFs to be read by screen readers. And so we'll talk more about that in the coming slides. So what's the difference? PDF UA only applies to PDFs, where the WCAG applies to all of the digital content that we create. And what's most important to note is that if you're addressing PDF UA in your PDFs, you will be passing the WCAG standards. So WCAG 2.1 and its relevance to PDF. So the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines are broken up into four principles. The first one is perceivable, which really means the content must be visible to all users. And the second principle is operable. The navigation must be usable. The third is understandable. It must be clear and predictable content. And the fourth is robust, and it must be compatible with assistive technologies. And at the bottom of the page, I've put a reference for you for more information on the four principles of WCAG. And you can get there by going to www.w3.org/WAI/fundamentals/accessibility-principles. So what is PDF UA? So the purpose is to ensure that PDFs are usable by assistive technologies. There are some key requirements that that PDF UA focus on, and that is that the content is tagged, the PDF is tagged, that the content is in a logical reading order, that alternative text has been applied for all images, that there's a proper use of headings and lists, and the data tables must be set up in an accessible way. And I'll go a little bit more into detail on each one of those things here in the coming slides. So the importance of PDF tags. On the right-hand side, I have a screenshot of the accessibility tags panel open within a document in Adobe Acrobat. And the image shows a tagging structure of that document that includes the top level tag, the document tag, and then its corresponding header and content tags below it. Tags make up the structure of the PDF, making it possible for screen readers to navigate and understand the content. PDFs without proper tags cannot be read by screen readers. So you can see that's probably a big deal. If somebody can't read it with a screen reader, they're not going to be able to understand the content within your document. Tags help to define the reading order of your document. So if your tags aren't properly set up within your PDF, then it's possible somebody using a screen reader will not read your document in the order you intend. A really good reference for this that you can refer to after this training is on the 508.gov website, and the URL for this reference is www.section508.gov/create/pdfs/common-tags-and-usage. So that's a really good resource that kind of goes a little bit more in depth into what the tags are and the different types of tags and how to use them. So tagged reading order. So the reading order is usually determined by the tag order of your PDF. You can check the order by tabbing through the content with the tags and reading order panels open. I will give a demonstration after this PowerPoint on what I'm talking about there. But on the right-hand side, there is a screenshot of the reading order panel open within a document within Adobe Acrobat. And it shows a number of different tagging options as in regards to whether it's a heading, a paragraph, a list, a note. All of those options are listed in that reading order panel. And that reading order panel will allow you to work on your document when it's open, using it to tag or update existing tags or missing tags within your document. So the order panel is different than the reading order panel. And so the order panel displays the visual reading order, while the tags panel defines the logical structure used by most assistive technologies. It's important to ensure that both panels align for essential document accessibility. And that's because some screen readers will use the tags panel, others will use the order panel. So it's important to make sure that those two are the same. And I'll show you what I mean at the end of this presentation. The other important thing to consider is alternative text for images. Now, this is a core principle. This needs to be applied to all digital content. Screen readers use alternative text to describe images, making visuals accessible to those who are blind or have low vision. They describe them to people who can't see them, which is why I'm describing the images on the slides as we're going through this presentation, because later I will update this video to be accessible. And so if someone who is listening to the video will also understand the imagery that is on the slides. Alt text is a crucial element of compliance in all digital content you create. So over on the right-hand side of this slide, I have a screenshot of the order panel within Adobe Acrobat, open for a specific page, and it shows the order of the pages and the content within those pages. It does not include the tags within the structure of the document. The reference that you can go to for this is on the WSU Digital Accessibility website. If you want more information on alternative text, it's a great resource for all of the core concepts for digital accessibility. And you can access that resource at www.edu/digital-accessibility/core-concepts/images. I would bookmark that site. There's a lot of really useful information in there. It really is our go-to for all things digital accessibility. So proper use of headings. This is another core concept that needs to be applied across all of the digital content that you create, because headings create a logical structure for your content. For screen readers, headers act like a table of contents, which improves the navigation and readability of your site or your document. Clearly labeled and defined headings allow users to quickly scan your information, And over on the right-hand side, I again have the accessibility tags panel screenshot open. It shows the tagging order of a particular document where the header 1 and the header 2 are visible along with the paragraph tag in the proper order. Again, you can reference this, more information about the proper use of headings on the digital accessibility website. And that URL is www.wsu.edu/digital-accessibility/core-concepts/headings. Data tables is another important aspect of making your documents accessible. This is often one of those things that causes a significant barrier if it's not properly tagged and set up within your document. Tables without proper tags are hard for screen readers to interpret. Accessible tables use correct markup to link headers with data, which helps users understand the context and locate information easily. It also helps to create that relationship between the headers and the content, so it keeps things in a logical order. A really good reference, again, for that is on the digital accessibility website. And it's the same URL with the exception of it being on the tables page as in the previous slide. So where to start? Start by learning how to make your source document accessible. The more you utilize the built-in styles of the native document, and so that means within Microsoft Word, or if you're using Google Docs or some other word processing tool, use the built-in styles because when you save that document as a PDF, most of those styles will come over with that document. So that's the place to start. We're not going to cover that in this training. We did an accessible Microsoft Word document training last month. We will post that shortly once I have time to make that video accessible, but that's the best place to start. Start using the built-in accessibility tools within Adobe. I will give a quick demonstration here in a few minutes of how to utilize those tools and do a quick accessibility check within Adobe Acrobat. And then I encourage additional training. There's a couple of pretty good introductory trainings that I've referenced on this slide. One of them is on the Section 508.gov website. You can access that training at www.section508.gov/create/pdfs/training-videos. And the other resource is a really good tool from the Adobe website, and that URL is helpx.adobe.com/acrobat/using/creative-verify-pdf-accessibility.html. And ask questions. You can join us for Open Lab every week. We have Open Lab every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Join us, ask questions about digital accessibility, reference our resources that we have available online, especially the digital accessibility website offered by WSU. So that was pretty high level, quick and dirty of it. I'm going to open it up for questions before I pull up a PDF and do a quick demonstration of some of those items that I highlighted in the training. Does anybody have a question before I pull up a PDF? Okay. So let me pull it up and share my screen. This is a PDF that I just recently came across on another website. One moment as I access my, oh, here we go. Share. Okay, so I've pulled up a PDF document in Adobe Acrobat. Let me move some of my toolbar things around here really quick so that I can access my controls. This is just a document I came across on one of our WSU websites. It is a document about bees. The title is Blooming Success. It's not a very long document, but what I would like to do is run the accessibility checker and point out some of the key areas and issues And then I will show you the tagging panel and the reading order panel, like I mentioned in the document. And then I'll show you how you can quickly tag your document within Adobe Acrobat, just as a starting point if the document's not accessible. So to start, I am going to open my PDF accessibility checker. So on the left-hand side of the document that's open within Adobe Acrobat, there are a list of all tools. There are a lot of different options there, but I'm going to scroll down to the option for Prepare for Accessibility. So I will select Prepare for Accessibility, and then it pulls up a number of different options. I am going to select Check for Accessibility. And then a dialog box pops up in the middle of the screen that has a number of accessibility check options. I will leave everything checked by default and select Start Checking. That just takes a second. And then over on the right-hand side, you see Accessibility Checker has displayed a number of results for this document specifically. So over on the right-hand side, you see documents, page content, forms, alternative text, tables, lists, and headings. And so what the PDF tool does is it really just checks against potential barriers. It is not checking against any standards. And so we'll go into that a lot more next month with our deep dive into accessibility with PDFs. We won't take a lot of time discussing that today, but I will point out a couple of the basics. So under document, I'm going to expand that option. It has two issues listed. One of them, there's a question mark next to logical reading order, needs manual check. This will always be the case. This will always pop up for you when you run an accessibility check because it always needs to be a manual process. And then the other option or issue that's listed under documents is color contrast, needs manual check. Again, that's always something that will need to be done manually and that the Adobe accessibility checker cannot look for. So it doesn't look like there's a ton more issues, but I can't rely on this accessibility checker alone. I must check the tags panel to see that the document is properly tagged. And so over on the right of this accessibility checker, there's some like little tool icons. I don't know what you call them, but little tool icons that you can select to open additional panels. And so one of them looks like a little tag, like a sales tag. And so I'm going to select that. Sometimes that's not always on by default, and you might need to search for it and add it to your right sidebar there. You can do that by using the Find Tools, Topics, or Help bar at the top of the page that has a little search icon, and you can type in tags, and then you can add that to your right sidebar. I already have mine there, so it already shows up. And when I have that open, I can see it just says tags, document, and then art. And if I expand that art tag, all I see is figure and section and just some kind of weird tags that don't seem to appear to have any header structure, no paragraph structure. So I can see just by this tagging panel that it has not, there's no proper tags in this document. So somebody who is trying to read this document using a screen reader is going to have a terrible experience trying to read through this content because there is no structure to it. So the other thing that we mentioned, I'm not going to get into how to fix all of these things because that's what we'll cover in the next training. But I just wanted to point it out. There are some quick things that you can do after I show you the reading order as far as tagging and doing some quick fixes. But right above my tag option over on the very far right side is a little icon that looks like a Z. And that's called the order panel. And the order panel is going to show you the order the document content is in. So if you don't have that little Z icon over on the right-hand side of your page, you can search for it in the Find Tools, Topics, and Help area and add it. You can just search for order and add it to your right sidebar. So it's always there as an option. So when I look at this on the page, it has all of the different content areas highlighted with a box and a number associated with it. So that might look good to start. It shows the first thing that's highlighted with a 1 is the bees and berries logo. And then it highlights the figure of a bee on a flower. And then number 3 is a little photo caption below that second figure. And then the fourth is another picture of a bee on a flower with number 5 as a little caption below that image. So it looks like it's starting out in the right order. Unfortunately, there's no tags associated with it. So just looking at the reading order, you might think that this content is going to be read in the proper order, but it's not because there are no tags associated with this. So one of the quick ways that you can tag a document if it's not properly tagged is there is an automatically tag PDF option underneath the Prepare for Accessibility tab on the left-hand side of the page. So I'm just going to do that really quick just to demonstrate to you that this can be a good place to start if you're starting off with a document that has no structure to it like this one. And so I'm just going to select automatically tag. It takes a second. It's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to do this. A little dialog pops up asking me if I want to confirm. And so I'll select confirm. And it takes a second to tag the PDF. There's a little clock icon going while it gets through the entire document, adding the proper tags. And so now it's complete. And now over on the right-hand side, I can see under the accessibility tags panel that it has added tags to this document. Now, you're not done. This might not be completely accessible. It would still be required to go through every tag and the tagging order and make sure that this document is in the proper structure for a screen reader. And it looks pretty good just looking at it. If I click on or select the header 1, that would be the proper header 1, the header 2 below it, the paragraph tag. So it's added somewhat of a structure to this document, which is good. That's what we want. I'm going to skip down further into the tags tree and select the table of contents. That looks good. On the second page, under contents, it properly tagged a table of contents, which looks good. But again, there might be some of these items that are still not complete, but this gives you a big head start. Some of the concerning things that I will just quickly point out is that on the first page, the figure of the bees and berries logo, that's the number 1 thing in the reading order on the page, has just all kinds of different paths applied to that particular logo that should just be one figure item with one description. So again, that gets a little bit more in the weeds as far as fixing those items. We will talk about that next month. But this was really kind of what I wanted to cover in this first introductory training. So when you hear people talk about tags, that's what we're talking about, the structure of the document. This is one of the most important things and one of the most common things that appear to be missing from a document. The other thing that I talked about in that training was the reading order panel. Now this can get confusing because the reading order is not the same as the order. And so what's the difference between the two? Well, the reading order panel is something that you can use to update the tagging structure of your document as you're working through it. And so if I wanted to change my header 1 or my header 2 or a paragraph, if I was doing any manual updates to my document, I could use the reading order panel to do that. If I were to highlight an area of content, I just highlighted the WSU logo at the bottom of the page. I used my little cursor icon to select that entire logo. Then it gives on the reading panel, it shows me some options where I can select any from a number of different tags on whether or not I want to change that tag. So I'm going to select figure, just updated that it was already selected as a figure, but that's how I would go through and manually change some of the items. You can also manually change anything right within the accessibility tags panel just by double clicking or double selecting the element, and then I could instead of it being a header 1, I could change it to a header 2 just by manually typing into that tag, and it would also update that content. So that's another way that you can do it. You can also drag and drop your content in different, if you find that with the reading order panel open, it's not in the proper order that you want it to be, you can drag and drop your content just by clicking and dragging it to the area that you want it to be. So those are just some of the basics. I'm going to stop talking now and stop sharing and let you ask some questions.